Hello, this is Defacto review for this week. We highlight usually two important events of last week happened in Mongolia that maybe reflect on the way we live in this country. This time we have selected two topics. First is budget for 2024 is submitted to the parliament. What is that budget about? Second is about scandal around green bus purchase in Mongolia. Huge scandal that provoked all people, almost whole country to really have a serious protest. As a result, the mayor of Ulaanbaatar city has resigned, and also the minister for traffic solutions also resigned. So we will highlight these two topics right now. Our first topic is about the budget. State budget for 2024 is discussed at the government, and it is submitted to the parliament for further discussions. According to the budget law, this is to be approved by November 20th, I guess. 20th, the final, and the country should have all the budget before December. Let's talk about this budget for 2024. Certain features. One, Mongolia for the first time will have a large parliament. We have 76 seats now. Next year we will have 126 seats. So accordingly, the public budget expense for management expenses will be increased. But a bigger picture. First, economy will grow 7%, and it is reached to 72 trillion MNT. But the budget is increasing for 5%, according to the Minister of Finance. Economy 7%, budget 5% increase. However, the budget total revenue will be 25 trillion, and expenses will be 27 trillion, with 2 trillion MNT deficit. So our budget is again with a deficit. First feature. Secondly, we have increased state debt, again, for actually 3 trillion MNT. That is the increase to the 32 trillion MNT of Mongolia as a state debt. The ratio, the debt to the economy is 44%. It is way under than the required limit or ceiling. It's around 60%. It's better, but still the country has a big debt, a burden. And 4% of total expenses of budget will be paying the interest of these debts, foreign debt, domestic debt, altogether. 4% of budget is for covering just the interest rates of those debts. And this year they borrow total 1.2 trillion MNT additional, and Mongolia will receive a $500 billion MNT foreign assistance, ODA, Overseas Development Assistance. Loan and assistance will go to these 130 projects, like this petroleum one, and also there is a big Chinese 150 billion MNT, a loan from China to make new hydropower station at Erden-Bolgan, which is already had started, by the way. And there will be 334 billion MNT also goes to Ulaanbaatar water supply capacity increase. Then, for example, 10 IMAX center will receive heating facility for 50 billion MNT, each around 5 billion MNT. So these kind of things that Mongolia cannot do itself is being made with the help of international ODA and international borrowing. The third specific or third feature of this loan is we have, again, a lot of money for social care. Total 7.5 trillion MNT will go for social care, which is a quarter of total budget expenses. Where does it go? First, about pension. Unfortunately, pension in Mongolia is still in the budget, because from the beginning, the budget was using all the pension money that people pay to have some money when they go for retirement, which is not the case in Mongolia. They receive very fixed amount of pension. So for that, pension is actually not care, but it is the money that are supposed to get back. But however, for that 5.1 trillion MNT will go to cover the pension expenses. Then 1.6 would go for children money. Mongolia is one of few countries giving money for every child, in spite of your income or the kid's income. As a result, not the required, the most needed people receive the care, but they receive those who really even don't notice that they are receiving money for kids. And the other care, around less than 1 trillion MNT. So total, again, I said, a quarter of budget goes for these kind of social care. And this year, some new items here increased inside of this social care. For example, public offices compensation will be 532 billion MNT. Then very senior people will receive more money, 308 billion, and the other social care for those who cannot work or those who take care of disabled people, etc. In total, 884 trillion MNT new care items come to this budget. Secondly, public officers who will move to countryside will receive additional compensation. 20% compensation of the salary they will get if they go to IMAX center. 40% additional compensation of the salary they will have if they go to work to SUM center. SUM. We have 21 IMAX and 365 SUMs. The third new item is a scholarship given to students who study pedagogy. As Prime Minister promised recently, those who will study for being a future teacher, they will get a scholarship paid by the state. For that item, 153 billion MNT goes there. So that's very briefly specific of the next year budget. What is the conclusion? First, Mongolian budget is still large compared to the economy. Total budget expenses compared to the economy is 37%. This is to the high end, because dynamically growing economies have a less state shares in the economy. In Mongolia, it is, for example, state-owned enterprises. And first we need to understand one thing. When the social care increases that much dramatic, it is pushing inflation forward. As a result, when the goods are now cost more because this care, etc., then everybody is paying the inflation cost. So we should understand what we are paying for this kind of cares. Secondly, when the state debt, in particular in foreign currency, in this case our 1 trillion MNT, increases, then the exchange rate is impacted. Mostly Mongolian tugriks is devalued because we have in the box of economy, now we have more US dollar, which is not producing US dollar, which goes to the infrastructure projects. The second topic we highlight today is around the green bus purchase. Ulaanbaatar city had purchased some 100 buses of green color came last week to Ulaanbaatar city, and people found it not new, it's old buses. That was the first whistle blowing by a citizen, Inkpat. Then the Hum Labour Party had gone further and found out with the professionals, etc., find out that it is true. The frame of the buses are from 1993 instead of being brand new buses. So what had happened? It happened that the purchase of 600 buses total went without any tender due to special decisions by the cabinet with the permission of the General Intelligence Agency, because if announce the tender, if go all procedure, it may take so long time as usual that before they called, coming with the winter, the Ulaanbaatar citizens may not have any bus. That was one concern that allowed them to go without any tender. But what happened? Happened the things, what usually happens when the state procurement comes. Well, first let's talk about why we came to that situation now. Ulaanbaatar city, you may know that half of the population of this country lives in this city alone, and out of all residents of Ulaanbaatar city, half of them live in Gir district and outskirts of the center. They are covering all hills, mountains around the Ulaanbaatar city. And they need, of course, public transport. And public transport is the problem in this country. That's why people don't believe in public transport and they buy cars. And plus, the old cars are brought to Mongolia from Japan with a relatively very low price. Some $5,000-$6,000 will buy for you a old Prius car, Japanese Toyota car. So almost everybody in one family has 1.5 or so statistically average cars in this Ulaanbaatar city. And the traffic jam you can see every day, you can feel, you stay very long hours in your cars in Ulaanbaatar city. And yet we have only 790 buses are in operation today, and out of which 532 are already obsolete beyond the consumption time period they supposed to be. 17 buses are got on the fire. So in 2022, the mayor of Ulaanbaatar city had made a resolution to renew bus parks of Ulaanbaatar city. And without further major tender, a company called Tinung Ogno got the permission to purchase 180 buses, and out of which 100 arrived, causing these problems I have described. So Ulaanbaatar people were living with this air around this bus. Ulaanbaatar, it was big scandal, big protests, and Ulaanbaatar city mayor, as a result, Mr. Soumya Bazar had resigned. And also the Ministry for Traffic Solution, Mr. Supatr, is also resigned. As we speak now, we have a now new mayor of Ulaanbaatar city. Mayor of Ulaanbaatar city is nominated by like any governor of each amag, like them, they nominated by the Prime Minister. So Prime Minister nominated new mayor of Ulaanbaatar city, Mr. Nyambatar, who was the Minister for Justice, who was known for his very active participation in revealing many scandalous corruption cases in Mongolia. New minister is Parliament member Inkbayar, who was advocating a lot fight against corruption. So now we have a new minister, new mayor. However, the problems are very not easy to solve because there is a particular phenomenon in Mongolia where the people coming to the state power through political parties. How? First of all, only way to get a hand to the state purchase is to have a power in the government. And that way is made through election period, election campaign. People who has this idea of making this kind of things, coming and buying political party seats. They donate big money to political parties, billions, and then put either themselves or somebody else to the parliament seats, candidate positions, and they pay it and they get the permission from the political, because they pay money to the political party. With that money they get a right to have a seat, etc. So basically the people who has this wrong intention buying seats. After that they have a right to nominate the minister or to have nominate their own people in the line where the public major purchase happening, procurement is happening, because they need to cover back their costs they paid to the political party. And these people come to those positions and brew corruption. In the case of the bus, they demand 10% of the total tender sum, and they divide among each other accordingly or hierarchically. And this case was very clearly demonstrated by the former ambassador of Mongolia to Sweden, Mr. Zorig Altai, who, while he was an ambassador, had invited Scania to come to participate in one of the tenders of some 10 years back. And Scania had sent their professionals to Mongolia, and they have prepared a bus designed to resist the very cold weather here, and the windows, everything works accordingly and warmly or comfortably for passengers. So they suggested a bit higher price, but the maintenance cost is way down than the Korean and the Chinese buses. However, they did not pay 10% of corruption or 10% of money as a bribe to those related people, and they came and bluntly informed the ambassador that they would not do, they cannot do it. And this is a very clear case where how all this corruption system works in Mongolia. So only way to get it is a state procurement. They put their own people. That's why at all levels of the state bureaucracy we have people who are doing what they are requested to do so for the sake of that person or entity who have paid. So as a result, the corruption basis of Mongolia is political party financing. Political party financing is supposed to be more brought to the order according to the new law adopted recently by the current ruler, by the current People's Party. But I know that there will be always ways to avoid this kind of laws, everything. The main reason in democracy is there should be people's monitoring, participation in decision-making, participation in implementation of the state resolutions, whatever their decisions. Because not everybody understands where the things start from, people just blame here and there one or two individuals, but however the very core of the problem is in the institutions itself. Institutions called political parties. So Mongolians now slowly understand way to address their attention, way to come to solve the issues. So our review also about to help in that regard, and we see that there must the beginning of all the corruption in this country is coming from political party financing. And the way to solve is to bring an order of the political party financing and plus people's monitoring participation in implementation of those related laws. That's my second topic from our review. So we have discussed with you about two topics this time. First is about state budget for 2024. What is that about and what do we expect? Second is about the public procurement, in this case, Ulaanbaatar city procurement of public buses, which caused big steering in the country last week. So these are two our topics. Thank you very much for watching us and see you next week at this time. Bye now.